Okay, guys, today we're going to be reading about Betty Graham. And as we read, we're going to be thinking about can, have, and are. So, what we're really thinking about are some important character features, some character traits about her, so that we can go ahead after this and discuss those. So, as we're reading, think about things that you learn about her, about Betty Graham. Okay, here we go. Listen as I read. Betty Graham was born in Dallas, Texas. She dropped out of high school when she was 17 and went to secretarial school. So she was going to go be a secretary for someone working in office and answer phones and type and stuff. She worked her way up to the position of executive secretary for W. Overton, the chairman of the board of Texas Bank and Trust by 1951. So she was like the boss. She was like the boss of all the secretaries. She was in charge. She and her colleagues means people that work with you, so she and the people that work with her began to see trouble with the new IBM electric typewriters. So they had trouble with their typewriters. They made typing easier, but their carbon film ribbons made it impossible to correct mistakes neatly with an eraser. So once you typed a letter, it was on there. You could not change it. Graham was tired of having to retype entire pages for one small error, so she was determined to find an alternative. So she got sick of having to retype the whole thing. So she's like, I'm going to figure something out. That's a good character trait right there. She's determined to figure something out. She had a breakthrough while watching painters decorating the bank windows for holidays. Instead of removing their mistakes entirely, the painters covered any imperfections with another layer. Graham mimicked, copied, Graham copied their technique by using white water-based paint to cover over her typing errors. So she's painting really small on the page and then typing over it. Other secretaries noticed and flooded Graham with requests. Graham's first batch of Mistake Out was sold in 1956. Okay, so she starts selling it. She quickly started working full-time to bottle it from her home. She continued to experiment with the substance until she achieved the perfect combination of paint and chemicals. The product was later named liquid paper in 1958. Graham applied for a patent and a trademark that same year. So when you have a good idea and you want to start making it a product and you want to sell it, you have to get a patent, which basically tells everybody, hey, this is my idea. I'm the one that thought of it, and y'all can't use it without my permission. So she got one of those from the government, a patent. Her company experienced tremendous growth over the next decade, so her company grew and grew. By 1967, the company had its own headquarters and production plant. She sold over 1 million units per year. Graham moved operation into a 35,000 square foot international liquid paper headquarters building in Dallas. She sold the company 4 years later, 6 months before she died in 1980. Okay, so let's think about some can, have, and are for Betty Graham. So she worked really hard. She dropped out of high school, but she knew that she could work really hard and move up and learn the things that she needed to learn. And eventually she became the leader, the one in charge. So I think that she's probably a hard worker. From that information, it tells me that she probably was pretty smart and worked hard to accomplish what she wanted to accomplish. Let's see what else. Oh, she learned from others. So something about Bette Graham is that she learned from others. She watched those painters painting on the windows and realized that she could do kind of the same thing for her problem. She was definitely a problem solver, wasn't she? She had an issue that she didn't like. The typing, the letters were all mixed, permanent, and she didn't want them to be permanent. Sometimes she made mistakes, so she had to fix them. I think she was probably what we call a go-getter. She was really enthusiastic. She worked really hard at her ideas because she started a whole company from nothing. So that takes a lot of hard work and effort. So those are some things about Betty Graham that I learned as I read. Now, as we're reading about other inventors, you have to listen for the things that they can do, the things that they have, and the things that they are. So after you read it, you want to think back to examples in the text like I just did to come up with ideas about that inventor. Some of them might be the same. You might say, well, this inventor was hardworking and this inventor was hardworking. That's okay. The one thing can go for more than one person, but make sure that they're all true, and make sure that you could go back in the story and prove to Miss Barton that it is true, because we don't want to just pick words that would go with anybody. I could probably say that Bette Graham was kind. I could probably say that. But in the paper, anywhere in the story, did it talk about her being kind? Not really. I could say that Bette Graham was a girl. Yeah, but there's a lot of girls. And in the story, it didn't really talk about that. It wasn't really important to the story. So I'm not going to use that one. Something she was that was important was a secretary. I could say she was a secretary. That's in the story, and I can point to a spot in the story where it says that she was a secretary. And so when you're reading, make sure that you are looking for things in the story that give you hints about that person's personality. Don't just say, they were alive, they were smart, they were an inventor. Well, yeah, they were all those things, but make sure that you can back it up later on, okay? All right, so that is it for today with Betty Graham, and I will see you guys next time.